Yes, yes, yes. Party people in the house. Welcome back. Happy Friday. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. Before we get this weekend started right, the message of the week. This is something I heard Gary Vee say. I'm going to paraphrase because that guy says a lot of stuff. It's hard to remember everything that he says. He said, there's a product or service, there's your personal brand, and in between, everything else is a commodity. So you might as well focus on your personal brand to really distinguish yourself. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of noise. How are you going to cut through? And what I've come to learn is that people involved in real estate really know how to focus on their personal brand. And in a way that, it's funny. It should seem obvious, but it wasn't to me at first. And I started to hang around a bunch of real estate agents and I was like, man, guys are kind of good at this. So I started to take notes and talk to them. So we're going to dig into that today. We're going to dig into personal brand and marketing. Welcome to the show, Vinny Valentino, zooming in from Connecticut. How you doing today?
Guys? What's up, buddy?
Good. Welcome,
Everything's great. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's just hop right into it. When did it become apparent to you that personal brand was like super important in real estate? Because it probably, was it from the beginning or was it something that occurred to you along the way?
So it was definitely something in the beginning. So, I come from a background of, I had an entertainment company. Oh. And towards the tail end of that, I was using a lot of, Facebook, Instagram posts and everything to showcase like what you're doing. So when I made the transition to real estate, it was just a no-brainer that you have to put yourself out there, put your daily activities out there, everything that you're doing, because it's a thing that everybody's constantly always viewing. You know what I mean? There's people always online. They're always scrolling through content. So why not put all that information out there?
So let's back it up even further then. What was your experience in the entertainment industry that led up to real estate and how that impacted? Like when was that point where you were like, you got to put yourself out there. You got to really do it. Because that makes sense. I also started in music. That was like one of my first industries.
Yeah. So with entertainment, so, I would do some clubs and I was also doing like weddings, anniversaries. So a lot of the times people, obviously they send you emails. They're going off of referrals from past clients, but sometimes they're like, hey, I want to see, are you DJing somewhere that I could come see you? So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like here, I'm going to be DJing at Diesel in New Haven. So I put up like a 15-minute stream of what you're doing. And they were able to see like you engaging with guests, you engaging with people that are there. And it kind of gave them like an idea of how you would be at an event. So using that social media platform there, just like put you out in front of so many other people that you would never be in front of.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about social media now. I want to like later on in the show, catch up and see like what other, resources you utilize besides social media for personal. Yeah. But I gotta give you a shout out. And this all makes a lot of sense based off of your post the other day where you were like sitting in your car waiting for a client and you were just like lip syncing some Dre. And I was just like, where's this guy coming from?
So it's just like, it
was great. It was amazing.
Well, because I always use like the postman. I just did it in another interview about, like we know that a postman's always out delivering mail type deal, right? So we know that realtors are always out selling homes. So that I'm selling homes. What you don't know is that while you're pulling up to a house, I'm going verbatim on a Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg song and other music. You know what I mean? So I think it just shows like behind like the scenes type deal,
Yeah. No, I love it. And you didn't even edit it. You were just like curse words and everything.
And everything. Well, you mentioned Gary Vee.
Sure.
And totally changed my mindset on so many things like life, work, health, everything. So, and he constantly just throws out swears all the time. And a lot of people say it even at work. Like when I'm in the middle of talking or whatever, I sometimes drop the F-bomb. So hopefully we won't do it any on this show.
No, I was going to say this, you can say whatever you want.
That's excellent. Excellent. Because once you get going, I feel like it always comes out some way or another. You get like a swear word coming out.
The worst thing that happens is when it bumps to like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If it's really bad, it'll get marked as explicit, but otherwise
it's good. So if I'm telling something and
Yeah, you stub your toe, you can be like, oh fuck, man, that
Oh,
hurt.
fuck, good. Yeah, that's excellent.
Well, I like that idea. You know, that's when I really like I got where you were coming from at that point when I saw that. Like, oh, this is a guy who really is just like putting himself out there. And I do the same thing. It's funny, I got this feedback from another real estate agent here in Brooklyn, a very good friend of mine who's also been on the show. You know, Marty Silverman asked about your jujitsu experience, man. I mean,
So let me tell you a good thing about the UFC. I was actually thinking about because I know you're huge into it, and I always say to myself, like, you know, I'm in an adult soccer league that I play here in Connecticut, so that like keeps me going. The UFC I've been following for about like 6 or 7 years now, so I love it. And the thing about branding that I wanted to talk to you about, like that just makes it unbelievable. So my fiance loves watching it. I think she loves watching it, but then when she starts seeing the fight and everything, she's like, "Oh my God, stop. You know what I mean?" But the one thing that draws her and makes her like want to watch it more is the promos and everything that they do, the branding of the fighters, the backstory of what's going on. Like, she's like, I need to hear about all that, and then she won't stop talking about it until it comes on. Like, oh, when's that pay-per-view? When's Nunes fighting again? When's she gonna fight? Like, when you get that backstory and the branding of those two fighters, that's the way like it propels people to watch. So that's kind of like the same thing that I feel about branding. Like, when you're branding yourself in that way, it almost like anticipates people like wanting to see more, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it, you know, I mean, for them, they are the product or service in a way. And for real estate agents, I mean, I've sold a lot of things in my life, but I've never sold somebody else's house, like somebody I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this building. And I've done construction. I've overseen build outs. Like, I know how hairy that can be.
Yeah.
And I was in a clubhouse room the other night and they were going around asking, like, if you had to do it all over again and could pick another industry to like come up in, which would it be? And I was like, man, real estate. Cause it's just it's just like so crazy to me. I'm fascinated by it.
I feel like everybody is, even before was in real estate. I felt like anytime you met, like, I always wanted to hear about it. If somebody mentioned it, it was like, tell me more about it. Tell me about foreclosures. Tell me about what's going on. You always wanted to know, even if I wasn't even like remotely ready to buy. I feel like it's so sexy. Like, everybody wants to hear, like, you bring it up and somebody's like, how's the market? Like, that's the first question. You could bring it up and be like, oh, I'm in real estate. How's the market? Oh, what's going on?
Immediately.
Wants to talk about it. It's like a sexy subject somehow.
It is. So to go back to the story I was starting to say about just really putting yourself out there, my real estate friend, you know, he does some high-end stuff. He's selling some very expensive homes here and commercial as well. And he does very well. And he's good with personal branding and everything. He follows me on Instagram, and I recently started to get cauliflower ear pretty good from training. Yeah. It just comes with the territory. Once you do it enough and you get in a room of like high level people, I'm training at Henzo Gracie Academy now in Manhattan. And it's like, wow, they're good dudes, man. They're really good. And like, you know, where I thought I was at is like actually a little bit lower, but I'm still going for it anyways. But, you know, in a defensive position, your ear gets popped a lot. And so like it started to fill up. So you have to drain it. And I'm putting all this out on my social media, like just pictures of the syringes, you know, of me like draining my ear and stuff. And he was like, man, I don't know, as a restaurant owner, if you really want to like put that out there. And I'm like, first of all, it's my personal page. But secondly, it's like, I'm just showing everybody like the humanness of it all. And I think in personal branding, like people, especially Instagram, people love to see the bling. They love to see like, you know, that great lighting and your 6-pack abs and all that stuff. But like, it's also a great opportunity to just be, we've talked about this a lot, especially in Clubhouse lately, is being vulnerable, like showing your vulnerability. Like, I'm human just like you. And what we are always trying to do. Are you familiar with, I think his name is Frank Kern. Does that name sound familiar?
I've heard of him before. Yeah.
Yeah. You should check him out if you haven't really like listened to any of his interviews. He's like, I guess Tony Robbins goes to him. Like, that's where he's at. Yeah, he's not like Tony Robbins is like, when I need help, I go to Frank Kern. So, but the dude's mad chill. Like he was a rocker. He was like a rock and roll guy and like was in a bunch of different sales and ended up making it big, I guess, through like the spam email era, you know, like early 2000s, late 90s. Even had a federal indictment because of his comings and goings with that. Survived, everything's great, but he just says over and over, I'm a terrible salesman. So what I did was just built relationships to the point where people didn't question what I was selling anymore. If they knew it was coming from me, they were on board. The frequency, his percentage of return customers and his frequency was so high. He's like, but it was all about relationship building. So for me, it was the understanding that if you put yourself out there, make yourself human, connect with people in that way, like people want to see that, not just, sure, they want to see some glitz and glam, you gotta distinguish yourself somehow. But I think it's also really powerful to just be yourself and expose some things about yourself that you might hesitate on.
Yeah, I 100,000% agree with that. Like the same thing. Like if my friends that know me, the people that I know me that know the business that I'm in, they know that I'm in real estate, right? So if I'm sitting, like I closed on a house, like, okay, Vinny, that's great. But everything else that you just spoke to, like, I talk about like, what my family, if I have my daughter who plays soccer, like going to her games, if we're doing some kind of renovation at her house. I mean, I recently just went like on this not crazy, I should say, but I lost like 65, 70 pounds or something, went on like a strict diet, changed like meal plan, everything. I post about that stuff. I mean, posting you're running every morning or working out, playing soccer, like it's all that stuff shows that you're just like a normal person out there, like enjoying your career, or tell a story about the real estate transaction, like behind the scenes, what happens, what you see at a showing. If you're at a showing, you're like, hey, do you like this granite? Do you not like this granite? Like that type of stuff is huge.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to like, we mentioned this the other day we got really deep in it on a Clubhouse room about pain. Like people connect to pain. Because we all share that. Like not everybody feels success, especially right now, right? There's a lot of people who are like, I got friends that are like posting on Facebook and they're like, I'm finally coming off unemployment. And I'm like, really? Like it's been a year? You've been on unemployment for a year? Everybody's had pain throughout this, but not everybody has had success. So when you're trying to connect, like exposing your pain, not just like, hey, I had a great run, but also like, man, I ran today and it was so hard. Like my leg cramped up. I almost didn't make it, like a picture of yourself, like laying on the ground. Yeah. All that stuff is like, it's fantastic fodder, I think.
And you'd be surprised how many people like will just reach out to you and, in conversation and be like, hey, listen, like I used to see your post every morning that you were up running, got my ass out of bed and got me up and going, and I'm like, what? Like, really? I just got up because I felt like crap. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to go run and thank you. You know what I mean? Like, that's good. I'm glad I helped you or whatever. But the same thing, like I've seen things online, like these motivation things that pull you up and you're like, yeah, man, I got to get going. I got to, what am I doing? So it's a circle, man. Everybody jumps on something else. And that's the way we keep this positive mindset going forward.
Fantastic. Great. Awesome way to segue into our first break. So let's take positivity. 2-minute break and summon more positivity. And we'll be back in just a moment, everybody. So you hang tight, Vinny, you hang tight. We'll see you in a few. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just tuning again, this is the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. Happy Friday. We're talking to Vinny Valentino out of Connecticut. What part of Connecticut are you in?
Right now I'm in Guilford, Connecticut, but I live in Wolcott.
Where so is that? I have no idea. I have no idea where that is.
Wolcott's right in the middle of Connecticut, right by Chester and Southington. We're kind of like encompassed. We're right on Lake Hitchcock. So you got to come down and see you because we're planning on coming to see you at that the restaurant. At the menu.
You might like it. Valentino, what is that? Irish?
Irish and a quarter of Italian. No, it's all Italian.
Man, come for the fresh pasta. We make fresh pappardelle, fresh tagliatelle, fresh gnocchi.
Nice.
So good. I live off this stuff. I can't eat dry pasta anymore. Like, I'm broken. I just can't do it. We've had the place for over 5 years now. And I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever eat dried pasta again after.
That's awesome. And you guys have outside seating and everything. Yeah, it's nice. Definitely want to check it out.
So I want to tie back into what we were talking about, especially in terms of your like personal brand, connecting people's pain, just being like super vulnerable. Are you familiar with the idea or the term imposter syndrome?
What was it?
Imposter syndrome?
No, I'm not. No.
So it's something that I've been working with on some people lately. A guest on my show the first time I ever heard it was like a year and a half ago. A friend of mine who's a business coach, very well read, mentioned it on the show, and I was like, "What does that mean?" And it really ties into like second guessing yourself in terms of, especially people that are in business. I mean, it applies to everybody. It's just it's a psychological situation where like you have, the little devil cheerleader, or the little devil on this shoulder and the cheerleader on this shoulder, and you're thinking about doing something. So like for you, a way it could have shown up is you're sitting in your car, you got Instagram open, you're listening to Dre, and you're like, it would be really awesome and funny if I just like recorded myself lip syncing this, bad words and everything, and put it out there.
Yeah.
And do the whole thing, and then you're getting ready to post, and you go, man, what if somebody doesn't like this? What if somebody's like, oh, he cursed, or he's like lip syncing rap music or whatever, and you hesitate, and you're like, nah, I'm not going to post it, and you don't act, you don't.
Yeah.
So it's like this hesitation that limits your potential connection. And so we've been talking about it a lot. I was actually on a show the other day where I was sharing the show with an author of a book about imposter syndrome, and we kind of ripped it apart. He's actually going to be the central figure of a clubhouse room next week on it. His name's Chris Kelso. And it's funny, the first time I heard the word, I was like, I'm too confident. I don't have imposter syndrome. Like there have literally been situations where we were like talking about opening a business, and then I'm just like, we're going to open tomorrow. And they're like, what? And I'm like, we're just going to go. We're going to do it. Like that kind of confidence, just like I walk with my chest out, I'm ready to go. But it was pointed out to me by somebody from Gary Vee's team that I was talking to. He was just like, we were talking about social media and personal branding and like putting yourself out there. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do what he was asking me to do on social media. I was like, man, what if people aren't into it? And he's like, that's your imposter syndrome showing up right there. And I was like, fuck. And so like, I've really been trying to like peel that away. And basically on this show the other day, what came up, the author asked me how I respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was essentially saying, if there's ever a point where I question it, where I think like, oh, is this going to be okay? I'm like, we're going to do it.
We're going to
no matter what, like I just make myself do it. I'm just like, I have to do it now just to see what's on the other side. Where before I might be like, I don't know, man. What if it damages my personal brand and my reputation? It's like, you have no idea until you put yourself out there. I'm just curious. Have you kind of like faced those demons at any point? Or are you just like, I don't give a shit and I go?
I have. In the beginning, I feel like I really did. You want to be careful about a video if it comes out. Like if you do like a video, oh, does it look okay? Does it not look okay? Was the lighting okay? Was it not? But after a while, and it was like a video by Gary Vee. I remember him saying once, like, you want to talk about regret, like go into a retirement home and sit there across from a 95-year-old and just have him tell you about everything that they always wanted to do and see how you feel. So like, listening to that, you're like, who cares? You know what I mean? You put it out there, it gets, you never look at like the views or how many people see it. If that's your information that you want to put out there and that's your video that you want to put out, go for it. You know what I mean? Let's put it out there and it doesn't matter. Because I could go back to when I was 11 years old, I started DJing. My dad started a DJ company and I was working with him. And he would do like all these like Italian parties, like anniversaries, first communions and everything. So he would let me DJ for like 20 minutes. He'd be like, all right, put on some like, music. So like, CNC Music Factory, Marky Mark, like getting people up there on the dance floor. And I can't even, and we used to have like the big rig on the table and like, I'm trying to stand up and go over it. And I remember he said to me, he's like, I'm like, what if what if like this, like, I don't know, I'm scared. And he goes, nobody else, no other kid out there at 11 years old will come up here and do it. You're going to do it. Like, I'm trusting you to do it. So do it. So that's what I put in, that's what same mindset as I go forward today. Like, you know what, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to put that out there. I'll put that information out there. You give it crap less if somebody says like, oh, it's not good, or I didn't listen to it, whatever. Like, if it's in your head and you want to do it, just put it out there,
Awesome advice.
So that Dre, I loved it. I mean, it's a song, and that's literally what I was doing. So like, I'm like, why can't I just flip the camera around and record myself? You know what I mean? Of like what I'm singing,
And just as like a bit of advice for people looking to make more content, that's kind of the suggestion. It's like, just like document your day. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't always have to be like this great, like, sure, every now and then it's awesome to put together an amazing post where the lighting is perfect and you've got portrait mode on and everything's like fantastic. But like, it's really great to just like turn the shit on and not worry about it. And it doesn't matter if it's like kind of flapping all around and like all kinds of mayhem is happening. Like, it's just, what are we looking for? What's the point of it all? We're just trying to connect with people. And I want to save that for the next portion. I don't want to go too deep down that. I'd like where we're going with this and talking about social media and just like, and throwing yourself out there. One of the things that this author said is that, and you strike me as a person that's like really going after it and a hard worker and a hustler. He was saying those, that tendency to like face that situation where you're like questioning, do I do this? Do I not? Do I do this? Do I not? That frequency is much higher for high achievers. Like if you're sitting on your couch and, you know, not really doing much, it comes up less often, you know, and maybe it even has a bigger impact on you because it happens less often. I know for somebody like me, once I recognized it, because I work like 18 hours a day, every day, I was like, man, this shit is happening all the time.
Yeah.
Have you discovered anything similar where it's like the harder you go, there's actually more opportunity to question yourself, and like, how do you respond to that if that's the case?
I think, I mean, I don't want to say I've been working my whole life, but it did start young. You know what I mean? Like it started like that like going after everything. You know, my father used to say like, I know I couldn't put you, you know, I know you weren't the type that would be behind the desk, like 9 to 5 type deal. Like you were always rushing. You were always like in a rush doing things. So that going forward, it did well for me in the entertainment industry, and it's done well for me in this, because I feel like sometimes it's too dizzy, right? Sometimes like you have too many thoughts on your mind and too many things, you know, like I'll talk and it's like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm talking so fast, like I don't even know, like am I going too much? But I think like that's the stuff that drives me, you know what I mean? Like that's the stuff that like makes me like keep on going, you know, like if I'm slow, like even when, you know, we were away last week, like a week and a half ago, my daughter went to go see a school down in Florida. I mean, I was relaxing. I was still taking calls. I was still doing what I had to do, but like, it's like that energy, man. You just want to keep on going. If it's like, if we're too slow, it's like we're dead, right? You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. It's like that mentality that you just got to keep on plugging along. You know, this brain's always turning, I feel like, right? And I'm sure you're the same way. Like you're always thinking about different ways to help your clients, or find a property for them, or find something that they're looking for, or put some kind of information out.
So do you find that like the when you're going harder, there are times where you question yourself more and like how you're going to proceed? Or do you kind of have like, I know some people, they have like a roadmap, like a plan.
Yeah. Oof. No, I don't have a plan. No.
Me either.
It probably would help. But if I'm like, oh, 9 o'clock, I'll be here, 10, I'll be there, 11, I'll be there. It doesn't work out that way. But like a plan, no, man, I don't know. I think I've just been able to juggle for so long that I just feel like I got it now. You know what I mean? Like if the harder I go, the harder I go, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you feel good, like in those moments, just like continuing to put yourself out there, all these things that you're like, when you're on social media and you're just like connecting with people.
I think it's great. I mean, you know, like I connected with a lot of people like on social media. I mean, I think the avenues that this opens up for you, especially in this business, like even with real estate, like a month ago, I was never thinking about doing anything in Florida. My daughter, our youngest, like just commits to University of Tampa, and couldn't be happier for her, right? Like we're like ecstatic. We're like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. But now the mindset turns to like, okay, now I'm going to have to try to maybe either find something down there, or do you get like your Florida license and start expanding? And it's easy to do with this, with the social media avenue of like posting a home in Florida. Like I could be posting a home from Connecticut in Florida and get one of my Connecticut clients interested in that property. Like it's ways like that you could use this to your advantage. Or, I mean, I've connected with like 3 different realtors in the Tampa area, talking to them about the market. How's everything going? What can we do? You know, where can you find stuff? Like, where's a good place to invest? Like those, and that's like sitting from my, like in my office or at my house, getting that information, you know? That's like simple. It's not like sitting there online, Googling everything and like trying to find it. It's like at your fingertips on Instagram and Facebook, you know?
And it's a personal conversation. It's an actual connection.
It's a connection. And there's somebody that you're talking to. You and I have had conversations about like the jujitsu and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's not, I probably got more information from you on that than I would if I called like a local shop around here and tried to get like information or went online. You know what I mean? Like that was like, boom, hey, listen, man, I see you doing that. How hard is it? I always wanted to try to get into it. Like those are conversations that happen fast. People reach out and they'll, sometimes DM me about like, oh, real estate, is it really hard? What do I do to get started? Like those are, like you said, quick connections that you can make just by a touch of your fingertips.
And that's where the value is, right?
Oh, 100%.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's take another quick break. All right. Hang tight. Cool. We'll be back in just a minute, everybody. All right. Welcome back, everybody. We're here talking with Vinny Valentino about social media and documenting your process in the moment. And we're both doing it. I just opened my Instagram and he's like, boom, tag me, like, boom. And then I had done the same thing with Twitter, just like right at the top of the show. And that's how you do it. That's the end of the show, huh?
That's it.
That's it, everybody. Now go get to work.
Lunch, yeah.
No, actually, there's a lot more to it than that. And I'd say podcasting is another way that really helps. Like you just get tons and tons of content out of podcasting. Have you ever been a podcast host or done anything like that?
So I used to do, my father used to have an Italian radio program. So when he passed, I took it over.
I remember you telling me.
Yeah, so I took it over for a couple, I probably like up until COVID happened, and it was every Saturday morning. So I used to do like a show with that, and it was, I loved it. I think it was just like playing music, dedications, people calling in, making like dedications to their family. It was all like, I would speak like Italian, American, here and there. And that was like the radio part of it. With podcast, my partner and I, Carrie Fast Brainer, we had a couple that we did, but then it's just like, it's obviously we're also like focusing on running a business, you know what I mean? So you have to, that's something definitely that I want to get back to, but you have to like set it apart some time to get it done, but
And now we have Clubhouse.
And now we have Clubhouse is just, it's amazing.
I mean, that could be like your podcast these days.
Yeah, you could we've done a couple. You just jump on there and like just get other realtors, call like a realtor happy hour. Cause like on a Saturday after you show like 7 or 8 houses, I'm like, there's got to be a place where all realtors go to hang out to talk about their day. You know what I mean? So now it's Clubhouse. You could just jump on there and like, oh man, this one didn't go good. This didn't go good,
Well, their timing on releasing that was impeccable, right? It was like all of a sudden nobody can go to happy hour really anymore. So they created that virtual space where you can just like hop on and just chit chat and bounce ideas off of each other.
And the conversations. So like I remember being at like a wedding, and like how wedding venues have like, one room here and there's like another hall right next door. So while you're DJing, and let's just say they're like, your wedding's having cocktail hour and the wedding next door is having a dance session, you would be able to walk over and just open up the door and be like, yo, let me see what this guy's doing over here. Like, what kind of setup does he have? Like, let me just see what he's doing. Now it's with what we have now, you could connect with like a real estate agent anywhere you want, like San Diego, Montana, New York, Jersey, anywhere, just to get that information. Like it's, again, all right here.
Yeah, no, I've heard it. I've been in some of those rooms and I'm like, this is crazy what's happening right now. Yeah. And I talk about it all the time. I mean, it's the idea that you and I could be having this conversation, say on the phone, and nobody else would hear it. But because of social media, because of the networking that we're using, this could be shared with millions of people for the same effort.
Yeah,
which makes it very efficient and scalable. And that's the part that kind of fascinates me the most.
And it's always there. People click on it, watch it again, like podcasts. And like, what are you gonna do? Sit in your car and listen to the radio? No knock on radio stations down here or anything like that. But I consume, like, I listen to podcasts or listen to anything else because it's just more information, more content for you to take up.
So you mentioned your father starting this DJ business. So this was in your blood. You kind of grew up with the idea of entrepreneurship, business ownership. I'm curious at what point did you realize like this was going to be the thing and not the 9 to 5 and kind of like what the journey was like, roping that in?
So being young, like my father obviously wasn't his only job. Like he worked third shift. So it was kind of like a time where, hey, on the weekends we could go out and, spend some time and, learn the ropes type deal. But then you start thinking about it and you're saying to yourself like, oh, I'm dressed nice, everybody's having fun. I loved like mixing and, you know, letting people have a good time and everything. And I'm like, wow, man, this is pretty cool. And then obviously like money's good and you're enjoying it and you're loving it and it keeps on going. And then you start, you know, he would always tell me like, I just want to do parties. I just want to do parties. And then me with that mind of like constantly racing, I'm like, let's start doing invitations. Let's start doing event lighting. Let's start doing photo booths. Let's turn it into more of like an event planning type deal, you know? So it just like kind of became like it was like a passion right from the beginning, you know, seeing everybody out there on the dance floor and knowing that like you're pushing the buttons to making them have a good time was amazing.
And what age were you when that really like kicked in? When you were like, I know you described being like 11 and behind the thing, but like, when did it really like?
I was 11 and I was like top of, I don't know, man, I was so happy. I did this one party at Parkwood East and there was 300 people there. And I was literally playing the songs from like a tape deck because I would practice at home. I would practice mixing. So I started playing and when I saw like people start trickling onto the dance floor and then I saw the whole dance floor back, that was one of the best feelings. Hooked. And I'm like, all right, let me just keep on going with that.
It was similar for me with live music. I was a drummer as a kid. I started at 11 years old as well and ended up pursuing a couple music degrees. But at 17 years old, I was running bands, you know, like with adults, like this one band I ran, you know, the lead singer was my dad's age, you know, it was like grown people. And, you know, I ended up dropping out of a couple high schools because of it, but it was a good time.
Yeah. School was just like, you know, I don't mean to, not that I don't want to say I didn't pay attention for any teachers or my mom's watching. But
come on, like, it's in the past.
It's in the past. But like you just went to, you know, you went and, you know, you maintain your grades, you know, for sports and wanted to make sure that you weren't going to get in trouble at home. But other than that, I mean, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm in class. Or then like for college, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get a business degree. And here I am, like I've been typing contracts since I was like 12, 13 years old. You know what I mean? Like he gave, you know, my dad gave me that foundation and that mindset to be able to do business like that.
Well, that's what I was talking about, like that confidence. It certainly came from me. You know, I just remember these guys asking me to play for them and they all like had jobs. They were working and I was in high school, but like, it sounds like you did more work than me. I made no attempts to keep the grades good or my parents happy. I just did whatever I wanted. But I just remember them saying like, you know, we're working all day. We need you to like call clubs and go in places. You know, this was like early 90s, you know, there was no online anything, you know. I remember just being like this scrawny little long-haired kid going in and being like, hey, my band wants to play here, you know, and just like having to really like step up and get that confidence. And then I was always the money guy, so they would pay me because I was the one who set it up. I was distributing money to the band all of a sudden. It was like, whoa, this is real. It was a lot of fun. It was a very inspiring time for me as well. And that same feeling of just like, I mean, at the end of the day, what do? We're trying to make people happy, right? You said it. Like you see people coming onto the dance floor and it was the same with music. It's no different with food. And now you do it with, again, there's the home thing. Like you're trying to make people happy by selling them somebody else's home that you don't necessarily know. It just talk. We got like 5 minutes for the next break. Just like talk about that for a minute, because I love to hear these testimonies.
So a lot of people will tell you like, I can't get into real estate because I can't sell, you know, like I personally, I don't see it like I'm selling. Like I can't open up a door and be like, hey, this house is going to work for you. And it just doesn't happen.
Good though. I mean,
but it doesn't happen that way. I mean, you sit down with your clients, you try to get an idea of what exactly they're looking for. Once they tell you that, once they're like, hey, listen, I want a house where I could raise my family. You know, we have a job that's 20 minutes away. That goes into your head. That is what you're pushing towards. That's what you want to find them. Money, all that other crap, commission, all that stuff, like you're not thinking about at that time. You're thinking about like, how am I going to make this person happy? And that's what goes back to stuff that I was taught at a very early age. Like make the people happy, make them happy. They'll dance. If they dance, you know, everything else will come to you. Same thing with the homes. Make them happy on what they're looking for. Give them a home that they love. They're going to love you forever.
And it goes back to that idea, like I was talking about, Frank,
Yeah.
like connecting. You're just
Connecting. That's all it is.
like
Yeah.
what's in your brain.
Yeah.
Man, you're getting me so excited. Like, are there people that do real estate just like as a side hustle that just like do it like one day a week? Is that possible? Because I'm like very busy, but like I think I'm so excited by this whole thing.
Yes, yesterday I took a day. My fiance and I paint. We're in the process of like painting the house. So I said, Thursday I'm home. I said, I have soccer at 7:00, but we wake up in the morning, we're going to start at 6:30 and paint. She could, every time she was on that ladder, she looked over me. I had my AirPod in, like it starts in the morning and doesn't stop until like 10:30, starts again in the next morning. So I don't see any way possible that you could do it as a side hustle.
The short answer is no, right?
No. Short answer is no. No.
Damn. So my buddies encouraged me to get the most basic license to do referrals, because he was saying you can make, because I'm a guy, I'm just like, people come to me for everything, like literally, like they come to me for plumbers, electricians, but they're also like, it could be anything. It could literally just be anything. And people are just like, oh, he knows somebody. And I'm, we're in a high concentration area like Brooklyn. And it's just like, it's kind of old school, the neighborhood we're at. And he's like, man, people come to you all the time. Like you could literally make like, thousands of dollars just for like referring. I'm like,
just if somebody, you always know somebody that knows somebody who's looking.
That's what he said. That's exactly what he said.
I play in a soccer league, and yesterday, like while we're on the field, somebody's like, "Hey, you do real estate, right?" Yeah. Oh, I do hard money lending. If you ever need anything, I got we start talking, and like I got a guy that wants to buy something here in this town. Like we had a brief conversation, and we're supposed to talk like in a half hour about a transaction. Like it's just everybody knows somebody, and like I'm sure you, like you were just saying, a lot of people. Like that could be your side hustle.
All right, I'm gonna work on that. All right, let's take one more quick break. We'll come back and wrap this one up. All right, everybody, hang tight. We'll be back in just a minute. All right, everybody, let's wrap this puppy up and kick the weekend off in solid fashion. We're here talking with Vinny Valentino about personal branding and marketing. We've talked a lot about social media. You gave some really great tips and, just some anecdotal evidence of like how to utilize that. I'm curious if there are other platforms and other ways digitally mainly, but it could be print material too, that you use that help you just get your name out there and build your brand.
So Instagram obviously is huge. Facebook, Twitter. I mean, I do here and there. Like I use it more for like Twitter is like where you get all the news and all that great information. But there's that TikTok app now that, I mean, you could grab some videos. The Instagram Reels are huge. So
you sound so old. There's that TikTok app now.
Yeah, I know that TikTok.
Man, I'm crushing it on TikTok. Whatever.
Yeah,
it's great. It's amazing.
I love it.
So outside of that, like, do you have a website, or does your company, are you?
Yeah, so I'm with One & Company at William Ravis. So we have One & Company has their own website, and I mean, as far as marketing, I could tell you, like I'm in a studio right now in our office. You know what I mean? Like they have like a built-in podcast studio, video studio for anything you want to do. So I mean, that's kind of like doesn't get any better than that when it comes to you wanting to brand yourself and then being backed by like an unbelievable company that's like pushing the hell out of branding yourself. Yeah,
I hear that a lot of companies are starting to do that more and more. They're like building studios and really incorporating, like when you sign on with them, you have like a team assigned to you especially for social media outreach.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And then what about like print material? Have you done personally for yourself or your team, like flyers, any, like my friends just, took over one of the bus houses here in Brooklyn, and huge ad. I think part of it, they were even here in my restaurant. The restaurant was like featured in it because they do photo shoots here. Do you guys mess with print material at all?
We do. I mean, do a lot of like personalized mailers. I have one of the girls in our office just wrote down like a note to all of her past clients, and it's just like pushing them through the mail. We do like direct mail marketing pieces where let's just say like, you call me, like, Vinny, I want to be in this condo complex. We'll shoot out some mailers right to that condo complex, knocking on doors, shaking hands. not kissing babies because of COVID. Right?
So the next question is, how do you assess the ROI on that? I mean, you're getting phone calls and emails.
Phone calls back, messages back, emails back inquiring, hey, you put something in my mailbox. What is it? Or, there's the targeted boosted ads that you could do on social media and people answer back with that. So yeah, you gauge it on that. And sometimes, even if nobody gets back to one of those meal pieces, you saw the meal piece, you know what I mean? Like you saw it, you held it, you looked at it. When somebody comes over and they say like, oh, I wonder if, I could sell this condo. They're like, oh yeah, you could. Look, I just got this in the mail. I always feel like it'll come back in some way, shape or form. It'll come back to you.
Sure. I agree with that. But you also think of anybody listening that's like considering doing this, you have to be smart with your money, especially
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So you just don't, dump thousands and thousands of dollars into it. Obviously you want to start yourself small, you know what I mean? Like get like a base, say, yeah, I'm going to send out to 100 people. This is the amount I'm sending. Let me see what I get back. But what I would tell you too is that just don't give up. Like even with media content, don't give up on that one shot. You know what I mean? Like if you do one video and you're like, oh shit, only one person watched it. Okay, do another one. You know what I mean? Like we go back, we'll take Gary Vee. Like how many videos did he say we started out with and nobody even watched them? For years, right?
And the good thing about social is that it's free. Like as long as you've got a decent phone, you got one of these little things on the front of it, you can bang it out.
It is. It's free, but until they start charging for this, keep doing it. It's so free and it gets out there. I've run into people that say like, I follow you on Instagram. I'm like, oh yeah, and I really don't know them.
Yeah, for sure. On my show last week, I had one of my first bosses and a lifelong mentor, and he's really great. He's in the restaurant industry as well, but really like banging it out in terms of coaching and marketing. He's hosting these crazy rooms on Clubhouse right now. There's so much fun, but we were kind of laughing about, I was telling a story about a guy that came in that works. I think he works for the Discovery Channel, like some big network, but his dad was in marketing and radio and television and like print material, like pre-digital back in the day. And they used to say, we know 50% of our marketing works. We just don't know which 50%. And so like, it's hard to do that. It's hard to just throw that kind of money away. Do you guys embed any kind of do you put codes or anything like that in your print material for people to respond back to you? Like respond back with this code. And that way you get a kind of a gauge of what's giving you the biggest engagement in terms of the print material.
I personally don't, I mean, we just started doing more direct mail marketing because social media and everything has been so good. But the problem that we're facing right now in Connecticut and a lot of people are facing is that there's such a high amount of buyers and not a lot of inventory. So you have to start getting super creative for your clients to find things. So I'm talking about sitting on the phone, making 100 phone calls a day to people. And a lot of people will answer the phone and be like, no, I'm not selling, but I think it's great that you're doing this client. What's your name again? So that type of stuff, so that's the reason why we've been doing so much of the direct mail marketing and phone calls and stuff. But, you could throw in something on there saying call us back for, redeem coupon or type deal. You know what I mean? Something like that would definitely gauge how, your ROI and everything. I like to put the material out. I'm not saying I waste super amount of money on it because I feel like it does come back when you set, you spend $40 on some mailers, you're definitely going to get a call from it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get hit up and be like, you owe me $40. I sent out mailers and didn't get anything. And then I got to get anything.
And I've also heard I don't use them myself much, but the use of QR codes on your print material, you get a lot of information.
Yeah,
and you can also direct them to a ton of information as well.
Yeah. People like doing that too. They take it and then put my camera on it. Yeah, so that's definitely a good idea.
Very nice. We got just a few minutes left. I'm going to let you close it up. Anything you want to share with people? Maybe they're thinking of coming up in the real estate industry or just business and general, and any tips you that are just dear to you, that have worked for you, that you'd like to share that would help them get set up in market. And then of course, let us know let everybody know where they can get in contact with you if they hear something that they like.
Sure. So I would say, I mean, one thing that I is that a career. I mean, work doesn't have to be work, right? If you have passion, you can make something your career, something that you wake up every day and that you totally love to do. Something where you're not looking forward to Friday. You don't give a crap that it's Sunday night and you had a few drinks and that like Monday's coming up because you're ready to go. So find your passion and go for it. And once you find your passion and you go for it, like you're not going to care about singing Dr. Dre in your car. You know what I mean? You're going to do whatever makes you happy because because you're doing what you should do, what makes you happy every day. So find your passion, go after it, and kick the shit out of it. You know, just keep going.
And then you're on Instagram. How much time? How much time do you spend on Facebook?
Oof, I don't. When I get these updates, I'm like, damn, what else do I do with my time? I feel like I'm like always on this stuff. But I mean, Facebook. You do look your posts. I mean, always like if I have something to post, I'll post it. I can't say that I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what am I posting? What am I posting? Like it's just like my everyday. Like if you'll see it. It's my stories are just like my everyday thing. But yeah. I mean, probably if I had to guess, I'd probably say like a good hour a day is spent like scrolling through some feeds and everything, and between Facebook and Instagram and the TikTok and the Reels.
The TikTok.
And we do a lot of it. This at One Company, they do a lot. So you're constantly seeing like what your other co-agents are doing, and like you're sharing them or sending it out there.
And so Instagram is the main place you spend most of your time in terms of online marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And what's your Instagram handle if any of these listeners would like to check it out?
It's Vinny VINNY _CT Realtor.
All right. And then any website or email you want to drop? You could even share your phone number. Shit.
Yeah, it's 203-996-1506. But all that information is right there on the email. I mean, as far as real estate and marketing needs and everything that we offer, oneandcompany.com. Take a look at it.
Beautiful. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Glad to connect with you this
here.
way.
Good to connect.
Yeah, bring your ass to Brooklyn. Let's get some pasta going.
We're gonna have some pasta, and then we're gonna train. We're gonna do some fighting.
Let's do it. I suck at soccer. No, I'm terrible at soccer. So
hey, you could beat me at jiu-jitsu. I'll beat you at soccer.
Sounds like a plan. All right, man. Right. Thank you so much. Everybody else.
My pleasure.
Have a wonderful weekend. Like Vinny said, go get it. Find your passion. Make it happen. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great weekend. Peace out.